everyone, my name is Jessica and today I will be talking with you all about dance, movement and something called gesture. Since composers began writing the very first operas, dance has been an important part of the whole package. This video series has been concentrating on an opera by Purcell called Dido and Aeneas, which was performed at Mr. Josias Priest's boarding school. Well, Mr. Josias Priest is very important because he was a dancing master, and it's believed that he might have written the choreography for a lot of Purcell's semi-operas. Mr. Josias actually had quite a few different operas performed at his school, and it might have been so that he could get the girls of the school dancing in the shows.
Nice!
The original score for Dido and Aeneas is lost, and the earliest copy that exists still has a few chunks missing from it.
Oh no!
In this version, there are just 4 dances written into the music, but we know from the original libretto from Mr. Josias Priest that there were actually 11 dance sequences in the opera. In Purcell's time, dance was celebrated as one of the most important arts. In fact, the arts as a whole were seen as the best way of showing power. So if you were a good dancer, it was similar to being good in battle. In France, if you wanted to be involved in politics, you would not be taken seriously if you couldn't dance. So everyone had a dancing teacher. Could you imagine Nicola Sturgeon and Boris Johnson in a dance-off? Louis XIV, the King of France, was an amazing dancer, and people called him the Sun King because of the dancing role he played when he was 14, dressed as the sun to show his all-powerful status. To assert his power as a young king, when Louis was 15, he danced a performance which had 43 mini ballets all in one. It lasted 12 hours and it ran overnight into dawn, with stage sets including chariots crossing the skies, winged horses dipping in and out of the clouds, and monsters arising from the waves. To show off how strong he was, Louis used to get out not his biceps, but his well-toned dancing leg muscles. Louis XIV dedicated so much of his time to developing dance that he is seen by many as the inventor of ballet. Nowadays, ballet is really important in opera, and some opera houses even have their own successful ballet departments, just like the Royal Opera House, which has a bridge linking the opera theatre and the ballet school. Now, just like with music, dance has changed in many ways over the past 400 years. During Purcell's time, it was full of meaning, so every movement or gesture that a dancer, a singer, or even an actor made had some kind of message attached to it. Gestures was so important that a man called John Bulwer made a book listing every single different gesture and what each gesture meant. The book didn't have a very catchy name. It was called Chirologia, or the natural language of the hand composing of speaking motions and discoursing gestures thereof, whereunto is added chironomia, or the art of manual rhetoric consisting of the natural expressions digested by art in the hand as the chiefest instrument of eloquence, by historical manifestos exemplified out of authentic registers of common life and civil conversation, with types or chirograms, a long wished for illustration of this argument. Yeah, not catchy at all. Some of the gestures in the book are still really common today. Just take a look at figure E. Some of them were really important for baroque dance and theatre. For example, figure W and X from the next page, which mean to welcome or invite someone, or to dismiss someone.
Get out of here.
Let's watch a clip by the group Le Poème Harmonique performing a piece by Lully, where the ensemble tried to reenact exactly how it would have been performed when it was written. The singer uses lots of hand gestures to mean different things, and watch out for the dancer wearing a mask who is trying very hard to get the singer's attention. Now let's take a look at how people use dance and movement in today's operas. The next clip is from Dido and Aeneas, and even though it's a modern production, you can see that the two dancers on the stage floor are using similar hand gestures and leg movements to the previous clip we just watched. But not all dance in opera is like that. Sometimes people use more contemporary dance, like in this next version of Dido and Aeneas, which has been designed entirely by a dancing troupe. Sometimes they use different dance styles, like in this clip from Shostakovich's opera, The Nose. Do you know what kind of dance style this is? Did you guess the dance style? That's right, it's tap dance. Sometimes people really like to push the boat out, like in this version of Dido and Aeneas, where the dancers are in a tank full of water. And here, the dancers are on bikes. Today, some opera houses not only have a troupe of trained dancers, but they also have a group of circus performers. Let's watch a dance sequence from Dido and Aeneas, where instead of using dancers or the chorus for movement, they have used a circus troupe to be the sailors for the sailors' dance.
come away, fellow sailors, come away. Your anchors be weighed, time and tide will admit no delay. Take a booty short leave of your nymphs on the shore, and silence their mourning with vows of returning, but never intending to visit them more. No, never intending to visit them more. No, never intending to visit them more. Come away, fellow sailors, come away, fellow sailors, come away. Your anchors be weighed, time and tide has this no delay.
The movement in an opera doesn't always have to be done by dancers to be effective. In this opera by Philip Glass, called Akhnaten, there are some people doing amazing juggling on stage. But this works so well because all the other people on stage are moving really, really slowly in comparison. When lots of people do the same thing, it can look really good, however simple the movement is. Let's take a look. I will now hand you over to an absolutely incredible dancer called Ricardo Barros, who has dedicated his life to a type of dancing called baroque dancing, which means it comes from the 17th and 18th centuries, exactly the time that Purcell was writing Dido and Aeneas.
Hello everyone, my name is Ricardo. And I come here today to talk to you about baroque dancing. I understand you are learning about Dido and Aeneas, that opera composed by Mr. Purcell. So, what's the difference between baroque and ballet? What was going on there? Well, tell you what, baroque dancing is very much inspired by Greek and Roman mythology. So, I don't know if you heard about mythology, but they believed in their own gods. And their gods were like superheroes. They could fly, they could do lots of different things, and each one of them had a superpower. Let's put it like that. So, they flew a lot. So, what these baroque people were thinking? They are trying to mimic that, and they try to be light and be powerful and have superpowers as well, and fly. So, I know you heard already that all the kings and all the nobles used to dance every day, and it was very, very, very important for society to work. If you didn't dance, you were nothing. You were no one. So it was very important to dance. So, let's see what's this about. I'll show you a little bit of the style. Before Baroque, in Renaissance, in the Renaissance period, the dances were very still, so everything was very grounded. If I show you the step, so you have a simple step and a simple step, the arms are relaxed and very serious. Down here, it's very somber, isn't it? It's fun, but it's very serious and very grounded. Huh? And Baroque people didn't want that. They didn't like that. They wanted to fly. So what's the main feature of Baroque dancing? It's lifting and trying to mimic we are flying. So we're going to bend our knees, like so. Prepare for takeoff. What's going on with my arms? They're not there anymore. So everything changes. It goes from here to here. What a difference, huh? And all the steps are very much high up, all tiptoe. Etc. That's how Baroque dance looks a bit. And, you know, you won't be wrong to think, oh, that's very balletic-like. Yeah, that's true, because this Baroque dance inspired classical ballet. Haha. In that time, there was a way of writing dances, which is fantastic. This is the first book that came out. It was written in 1700. Yeah, 320 years old. And look at that. This is a choreography. How fabulous, huh? Who would know that we could write a dance and 320 years later, people could read it? Yeah, you can read it. Look at this one here. This is fantastic. Lots of symbols. I'll tell you what, the legs are going crazy there. Can you see all these legs look like cobwebs? Yeah, the legs go like... It needs a lot of strength to do that. And look here, this dance, this notation, when we dance, we imagine it on the floor. So, Mr. Tomlinson, who wrote this book, he gave us a hint of that. So he drew that notation on the floor, which is the imaginary notation we see when we dance. Look at that. Can you see that? The two blokes dancing, two gents, and here we have a couple. How pretty is that? You have already learned about the Romans, or you might be about to learn about the Romans by now. So, if you learn about the Romans, you know that there were some very different costumes, right? Especially the gladiators. Gladiators, can you imagine the gladiators? They have that little thing that looks like a little skirty with some pieces of fabric hanging down. So that was the classical way that people thought about the Greeks and the Romans, and they followed the gods dressed like that too. So I tell you what, I'm going to show you a little picture here of Mercury. In Dido and Aeneas, there is a Mercury, isn't there? Yeah. And this is a drawing from 17th century. Look at that. That's a man, and he's wearing a very short skirt, like the gladiators. And he's flying diagonal. See what I mean about flying? This is Mercury. He's one of the gods from Greek mythology, and he was a messenger. And he was very good at that. That was his superpower, to fly and deliver messages. So when people saw Mercury coming down in their stories, they would think, oh, the gods from Olympus are sending us a message. Let's hear what they have to say. So that's how it goes. So Mercury used to fly down and fly up. So it would look a bit like that. So on the stage, they would have cables that bring the dancer down and up again. So you look like he was flying. Fantastic! Male dancers, they were given all the difficult bits to dance because we could see their legs. The ladies were not so lucky because they had very long skirts. So we couldn't see their legs really until later on, much later on, in the 18th century, the skirts got a bit shorter. But until then, they couldn't do much. Yeah, so the men got all the difficult bits to dance. Word.
Wow, what amazing dancing. Thank you for sharing that with us, Ricardo. And thank you all so much for watching today. I hope you had fun learning about dance, movement and gesture in opera. And don't forget to tune in next week for our last opera video, when you will meet Claire, who will be talking about all the different things that people get up to backstage in opera. Bye for now.